So, you know, I ain't got to worry about shit, man. And this kid is like, it's like kind of like Dave said with his fighters, you know. Say, man, I can't just trust what I'm telling you. I can't make you trust me. But if you do what I'm telling you, you're gonna be straight. Well, Danger's one of them for me. I don't. It's basically coming out the book of boxing. I don't gotta fucking tell him, you know, because he gets in there, he does it, and he sees it, and it works. And yeah, man, he's fun to watch. He's fun to train. He's fun to watch grow, and just, you know, my main thing is drive. You know, I can't teach you I can't teach drive.
Right.
And he's driven, bro. So yeah, that kid will be all right, man. The main thing about the drive is when they driven, you know, when they face adversity, they'll be all right. You know, they'll get frustrated, get aggravated, you know, have a bad day and shit, but you know that drive will kick in and be like, fuck that. I ain't doing that again. Let's go. And that's what I enjoy about that kid, man. 1,000%. And you see it, you know, other experienced guys see it, and I don't even gotta tell y'all about it. Y'all pick it up. Who's this fucking kid? They came in from true story. They came in from you know my man Omar?
Right.
Juarez, who just fought on PBC.
Yes. That's another. I used to watch him in the amateurs, and I judged one of his fights or a couple of his fights before. I've always enjoyed watching him fight too.
And just happens to be a great guy, man.
Yeah.
So, you know, talking to that kid is ridiculous, but I'm an Instamatic fan, right? So they came in, the dad came in, they brought Omar, they brought a bunch of fighters, and we were sparring, and they had a kid, I don't know what Omar was, another 100 fights, and him and Danger's going at it, and the dad who came with him, I don't think he was the head trainer, but he was training his son with him. He walked to my side of the ring. He goes, man, coach, that kid's good, man. He said, I said, yeah, man, he is. He said, my kid's got 100 fights, you know. I said, yeah. I said, mine got 3. And he goes, what?
Yeah.
I said, he's been boxing about 1.5 years, 2 years total.
Yeah.
What? I say, you know, they think you're bullshitting them, but some people is like a duck to water, right? That's just where they're supposed to be. And the guy, I forget who it was, he was like, you know, he didn't call me a liar, but he was like, I said, man, that kid got 3 boxing matches, bro. He's been boxing 1.5 years, 2 years at the most. And he was like, wow. Now, that ain't the shit on his kid. Kid can fight.
Yeah.
It's just recognizing what you're saying. You see it, everybody sees it. You know, the kid can fight, man.
No, he can fight. I know he can fight. And the other thing about that, though, and to your point, like, you know, a lot of people, you know, think that, you know, you have to have, like, they measure a fighter by the amount of fights that they have, you know? And it's like, you know, people know. Like, we don't even like to tell our fighters how many fights the other guy has. You know, if we know he's ready, they're ready. You know what I mean? Just go. Because, you know, we see that all the time. Well, how many fights does your guy have? 16. How many fights does your guy have? Like, over 100 or close to. No, I don't believe you. Let me see that book.
Right.
You know, that type of thing. So, you know, and that's a sign of a good coach, you know, like, you know, there's too many coaches right now putting guys in the ring and they're not even ready to be in the ring. And I don't know if these coaches don't know any better or they're just thinking like, okay, maybe I can build a guy up by, you know, just build his experience because he's lacking coaching ability. So he has to build his fighter through basically wars. By the time they're you know, they have 100 fights, they're worn out.
I was about to say, you know what I think it is? The tragedy ain't that. The tragedy ain't that far. What you just said, which is tragic. As a trainer, that's fucking tragic, right?
Right.
That's not the tragic part to me. The tragic part is when a trainer believes that's how you do it because that's how he was done.
Right.
So he's passing it down. Like, you know, through the podcast, I've learned so much about these fighters' experience about, you know, how long you was in the gym before you had a fight? A week? What?
Yeah. How
long you was in the gym before you had a fight? Oh, I was in the gym like a month, man. They threw me right in there and I'm going. You can now, let me preface this, sir. Let me preface this. You and I have conversations outside the public. So
yeah.
you know me.
Yeah.
So let me preface it by saying I'm not shitting on nobody's shit, bro.
Yeah.
Do what you do it to death. Do it 1,000%. Me personally, I'm like, man, at 20 years old, at 16 years old, me, myself personally, you would have put a 25-year-old kid in the ring with me who only been in the gym for a week. I'm gonna hurt him bad. Because at 16, I'm still a kid and don't give a fuck. You know, I just want to win.
Yeah.
But so I'm like, this is serious business, man. It's kind of like if somebody thought that about a 7-year-old kid, and I'm not for that either, but if they thought that about a 7-year-old kid, what's the worst? A black eye or a bloody nose? At the fucking worst, his nose is leaking a little bit.
Yeah.
Fucking 14, 15. When you started knocking people out, sir, how old were you?
10. I was 10.
10 years old.
Yeah. No.
By the time you matured into a late teenager, you knocking motherfuckers out. They going to sleep. You can't throw these people in there to me, to my thinking, because you can get hurt, A. And B, who wants to learn through osmosis, man?
Right.
He get hit, and you'll duck sooner or later. Because that's kind of like saying there's no technique. There's not no technique. You just hit to your duck. And there's trainers out there that I think was trained that way. They fought that way, and they passing it on. You know.
Yeah, I think those are the guys that probably take a lot of shots early and end up, you know, punch drunk. You know, the thing is that there, on the flip side of that, there's also special talents. You know, you may have a very talented, and you know, a lot of these guys may have very talented fighters that come to them, and they, you know, they think they can do that with them, and those fighters are talented. But if you take those fighters with like a coach that knows what he's doing, that talent could like rise so much faster. And then in addition to that, you might have fighters that just have something, and just their learning curve is a lot faster than someone who's probably never fought before, or someone who has problems with their coordination, right? Or someone who you know, just needs a little bit more attention. There's some guys you can fast track, right? But you still, like, for me, you know, the first 6 months should all be in-house, you know, learning the basics, learning how to, you know, defend, offense, strategy, all that.
Totally agree.
And then you'll have some guys that, you know, after 6 months, or, you know, or before 6 months, there's some special cats out there that might be able to do more than the regular person, right? And that's how you kind of start to weed out, like, who you can, you know, throw more things to, right?
Right.
And which ones need more attention, right? But yeah, man, I mean, I see that as kind of like a problem in the sport, where, you know, you have coaches out there that just like throw you in there with the lines and they don't care.
And those fighters, and some of those fighters are successful because they have what it takes. They have the drive. They have and they're going through a hell of a pace, man, in order to get there. And they believe
Right.
their coach's word is gospel truth, saying way things that listens to me, but they going through it osmosis. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
Right.
and something needs to be said, man. Something needs to be said, and I think that's what you're touching on, sir. Sometimes a motherfucker's just a great athlete, so he gets by on that, and so you're thinking he's being coached well, but he's such a tremendous athlete, his flaws just ain't glaringly obvious yet. They will be, but not yet. And so a guy gets so away with shit for so long until
Roy Jones, you know, like probably one of the best fighters I've ever seen, but his athletic ability, to your point, you know, that's who I think of automatically. I think when they fought earlier in their years, Roy Jones and Hopkins was a good example. That's like a good case study. You look at Roy Jones and B-Hop. Roy Jones' athletic ability just was at a different level.
Well,
they were young.
I would go as far as say it's unparalleled by anybody. I would go that far with it.
And then, but B-Hop is more of like he's like fine wine. He's just getting better because his foundation was better. Maybe that athleticism can't be compared. But when they fought again, you really saw. You really saw. You saw the instruction. Good example of like, look, when you really, really know your stuff, when you really, really don't have a foundation, you know, it's glaringly obvious. In the ring with.
It's glaringly obvious. I don't like to. I'm not a Roy Jones fan, but he's fucking great, and everybody knows he's great. And it's not an excuse as much as it's like, you know, Hopkins, when they fought that first time, Hopkins was so green in his development that Roy was just, you know, even they said Roy was hurt or something, but even a hurt wing didn't matter. He was so athletically gifted, and so Bernard had to develop, right? And so, but it's not an excuse. Roy Jones won, and it took, you know, it ain't no more excuse than I can't really say shit about whooping Roy when he fought the second time, because who the fuck didn't know what was about to happen? But the thing is, James Toney, on the other hand,
was a young
part. It's, wait a minute. You got a technically superior fighter, fighting an athletic superior fighter, and a technical guy made his pride got in the way so much. I'm slick and I'm fast too. I'm not gonna let you out slick and fast me and give him the fucking fight. I tell people all the time, I said, nowhere in nobody's handbook does Roy Jones beat prime James Toney boxing for boxing, unless James Toney gets in there and gets embarrassed and tries to outspeed a guy who can't be outspeed. You can't do it, and that's kind of
we got sucked into that.
That's my way of giving Roy Jones all his props that his biggest fans give him. It's real. You know, who the fuck can do what he did? Nobody. You can't do that. And in order to compete with that in his prime, and nobody did. You had to be so fucking staunch in your boxing technique, and when shit was going against the grain, you had to stick to it to ever have a prayer with that dude, and nobody did it, man. He was so fast. He was so, you know, it was ridiculous, man. It was ridiculous. Like, to me, this may sound crazy, and I'm never going to repeat it again. Like to me, that was Ali's strength, right? He was such a fucking athlete, athletic.
Yeah.
He was such a superior